everybody. It's Lisa Copeland. How are you doing today? Well, as usual, I've got a fantastic guest on Big Sellers. I'm doing a live pop-up show because, like I've told you guys in the past, when you've got big people, big names, busy people, you got to grab them when you can grab them. And today is no different. My friend, Judge Graham from Dallas, Texas, is on the show.
Yay.
He's an author. Hey, he's an author, a speaker, and an entrepreneur expert. And he and I happen to work with the same agent, To Market Media. He's got a book that's getting ready to come out. I'm so excited to hear all about it. You know, I'm a serial entrepreneur, so I love talking to entrepreneurs like you. So
yeah.
I want you to jump into it. So Judge Graham.
Yeah.
Do people ever think you're really like a judge? Because I did at first.
It's great. So the history there is my father and my mother, my grandfather, he was the municipal court judge of Houston. And my parents wanted to name me out of respect, for him. And his name was Felix. And so they go, we don't want to call him Felix, but we're going to call him Judge. And so there's where my name came from. And it's great. Like I have a Texas license plate that says Judge. Yeah. And I never get pulled over. It's awesome. It's great.
That sounds like great marketing.
Yeah,
all
exactly.
right, so you just live up the road from me in Dallas, Texas. Well, tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us about your entrepreneurial journey, because it's obviously been very successful because you're about to release your book published by Morgan James, kind of a big deal. So tell us about yourself.
Yeah, thanks. No, super excited to be on. Thank you for having me on. I appreciate it. Yeah. I think we're probably like kindred souls or spirits, done a lot of the same things and very cool. So serial entrepreneur started when I was a little kid, from selling pencils up to never really working for anybody. I started my real first legitimate company in college and took that company, merged it, grew it, sold it, and really have never looked back. And it's always been in really the digital marketing space. So my core competencies are software development, web design, to Facebook ads, to digital media and marketing, to analytics. So that whole kind of digital ecosystem, and it's been great for me. And, this new journey that I'm on is really taking that success that I've had. And, my hobby is business, right? That's my sport. I mean, I love it. Like I get so fired up, and in marketing, it's allowed me to work across all kinds of verticals, right? So from auto, which you have a ton of experience in, to literally, yoga clothing or, Dr. Pepper. So I've got
possibly skateboards. Do I see skateboards back there?
Those are some skateboards.
Yeah, those are pretty cool. I actually grew up in Northern California, so I had a skateboard, believe it or not.
Oh, it's awesome. Right now I'm in California. So,
Where are you in California?
I'm in the Redondo Palos Verdes area.
Okay, I'm heading there next week. I've got to go to LA and then Napa and San Francisco. So
awesome. I'm here next week too. So
okay, well, I'll have to give you a ring. Absolutely. Yeah.
So anyhow, that's kind of the high level story for me, and I've really wanted to, at my core, I'm about speed and scale, how to make decisions fast, how to create cultures that have momentum and speed. And so my whole book that's coming out is called Scale with Speed. And I'm using my failures, my mistakes, and my success over my body of work to help people with a book that I would say is much more practitioner, right? Because I'm much more of an EQ guy than an IQ guy. And this book is going to give people tangible things to start scaling their companies with speed.
Okay, and I love that because, where I see entrepreneurs who have really great ideas, well, then they end up working in it, but they can't scale it. I mean, that is the number one reason that an entrepreneur fails, is because they've got a great idea and then they can't scale it.
Totally.
And anytime, any business I've ever looked at, if it's not scalable, I jump out.
Yeah, you have to.
Later.
Yeah, and what's interesting about speed, I mean, think about this. The iPhone has only been around for
10 years.
10 years.
It just had its 10-year anniversary 6 months ago.
So Lisa, 10 years, and think about it's more powerful than the first space shuttle that we sent up. And think about what's happened in the last 10 years versus the last 300. So technology has become the differentiator, right? And that has required this urgency for speed, because technology allows you to move lightning fast at a global pace. and at a global level. And so if you're not executing with speed, and the key word in there, execution, you're going to lose.
Right. Okay. So tell us about, because you talked about, and it sounds to me like, you are putting a whole, lifetime of experience and a wealth of knowledge in this book. And I think it's really important for people to hear what the failures were. So what was your biggest failure that you're talking about in the book?
Yeah, totally. So my first business, and I'm glad you asked, and it's a core principle I talk about is recurring revenue, right? If you want to have a business, a monster business
subscription-based
to scale, it could be subscription, it could be fee-based. It's just predictable, right? It's contractual revenue, right? So my first business that I started actually at TCU that ended up failing was a web design and development business. So it was very project work, right? So I would go sell a website and you would build it. And then once it was done, that was it, right? But we grew that business to, 30, 40, 50 people, and the overhead just got enormous. And I had to make a, 100,000 plus nut every month. And as you can appreciate being in sales, every day is a new day, right?
Absolutely.
You're lacing up. And so that failure, right? I had to hit rock bottom. I was up on the way to the top, literally had to shut the doors on that business.
Why? Okay, I'm going to stop you there. Why? I mean, you're killing it. You've got the employees, you've got the business. What was it that put the brakes on the business?
I made some bad decisions. So took on more space, right? We projected and forecasted growth based on history that we didn't know that could be repeatable or not, right? So you took on a big lease. I built out this, really amazing space. We bought all this new furniture, and, market conditions changed a little bit, and the amount that we were selling couldn't keep up with the amount of overhead and expenses, and therefore we couldn't scale properly. You scale. A lot of people it's interesting. You can grow out a business, right? That's an example how you grow so fast and you haven't put together recurring revenue that it actually becomes a detriment, because your monthly nut becomes, more than you can handle, because you have to repeat it every single month in new business.
So what would you do differently today, knowing what you know, with that business?
100%. I would shift it. It was actually what I did with my second business. I would get a more appropriate balance of project work versus recurring work. And so an example is a website's a project, right? But ongoing maintenance, SEO, digital marketing, those things can be sold as annual retainers, right? And all of a sudden that stuff starts to compound, right? So if I was selling 100,000 of project work a month, but then additionally I was selling 50,000 of recurring revenue every month, well, by month 3, now you have 150,000 of compounded recurring revenue that allows you to start scaling.
Right.
That's the key.
Okay. And that is great advice for all the entrepreneurs out there. So tell us about business number 2. So, okay, let me ask you. So that one, you're like, okay, made the mistakes, didn't scale it properly. You had to shut it down, I imagine, lay off a bunch of people. You had to dust yourself off, start all over again. Tell us about that.
Hit the bottom.
Like bottom. So, at that point, I'm, recently married, have a new beautiful baby. And I talk about this all the time, and you'll appreciate this, Lisa. I mean, when I talk about commitment, it's burning the ships commitment, right? And I think a lot of people don't really get that, right? So I had a choice, right? We was feast or famine at that point. I could go get a job, or I rallied my tribe and my family and said, we're committing, we're going to figure this thing out. And, that's what I did. And, fast forward, was able to grow that business to, very successful levels. And okay, yeah, but what was the business? Tell us about what the business was.
So that business was all about really digital direct response. So we would help companies who either needed qualified leads, they had something they wanted to sell online, or they were selling a physical product in a brick and mortar store, and we were driving very focused traffic to those
eyeballs
stores
to them
to pull. Yeah,
through social media or through SEO. How are you doing?
All of them: SEO, online banner ads, paid search, social, all those things. And with a heavy emphasis on analytics, right? Because I figured out really fast, if I can help clients say, give me $3 and I can make you, $8, that's a good model, right? So So focus on the money and follow the money, and you'll be successful.
That's awesome. So what'd you do with that company? Did somebody come buy you out?
Yeah. So we sold that company to a private equity company.
Oh.
Who put us a part of a bigger company. And then 18 months later, we then sold that even larger entity to another private equity company. So, it's been a fun 72 months for me.
Wow. Awesome.
Yeah.
And so like any person who sells a company, I know the feeling. Did you decide at that point to write a book?
Yeah. So after,
you can't believe, people, what I have been through. So I'm writing a book. And, I think the book for me, my first book, was almost therapy. It was
absolutely.
like, well, therapy. Book number 2 that's coming out, it's like really like, let's go. But, I think the first books a lot of times are therapy.
Yeah. So after the second sale, I decided, I wanted to write a book, and I really wanted, like I said, I hope this book, it's my first book. I hope it is more of a practitioner's guide to how to implement and execute, right? It's less theoretical and it's more practitioner, right? And it's more EQ versus IQ. And it's, you follow these steps, you use these formats, and, you stay consistent, you'll be successful.
I kind of need a copy of that book immediately, since I'm about getting ready to launch a big subscription-based deal. And
yeah.
I'd love to have a copy of that. So, so
you will get a signed copy from me.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. So where do you see yourself going? I mean, what's your next step? You've got the book, you've got the publisher, so we know it's going to do great. Where are you going to go from here?
Yeah. I'm motivated by business, and I love now this part of where I am in my journey is I want to help businesses grow and achieve some of the success that I've had. So whether that's doing it through, motivational content or some speaking engagements, or, really select, I'm engaged with a couple companies right now that I'm helping them with how to scale with speed. So that's where I am. I'm also entertaining, some ongoing coaching and some things like that.
So, but Judge, I have to ask you, so, I mean, because it's almost counterintuitive, scale with speed.
Yeah.
What is the key to scale with speed? I mean, I would think technology, but what about those of us who are not super technology or technologically inclined? I mean, we know people, all of that. How do you scale with speed?
Okay, great. I'm going to give you the formula, right? Which is great. So speed, the S is start with your end game. So many people don't really map, like, why are you in business and what do you want to do? What's the end game? Do you want to sell it? Or do you want to have a legacy business? And that helps fundamentally the kind of decisions you need to make, right? So start with your end game, and then pick your niche is the P of the speed formula, which is key, right? I truly believe niche will get you rich. So if you're an inch wide and a mile deep and really understand who you are, what you do, who you sell it for.
I love that. Niche will get you rich.
Totally. Oh. So that's the P, pick your niche. Then the first E in the speed formula is execute with speed. And this is critical, because if you're not on the right framework, people that always say, hey, slow down, it's a marathon, it's not a race, those people will die. It is a race. Like right now with technology, it is a freaking race. And the people that have the right framework can run at that level and can operate with that speed. So that's the first E. And then the second E is you've got to energize your culture. I don't care if you're in service, what it is, I'm about, if you want a monster freaking business, you got to have great people, right? And you got to have great culture. That's a game changer, right? So how do you energize your culture? And I've got a whole format of how I teach and implement world-class cultures. And then the last priority, which is probably the most important besides executing with speed, the D in the speed formula, is dominate your top priorities. So think Grant Cardone 10X. Right. But I have a system that literally lets you go in that inch wide, mile deep, niche will get you rich. Here's how you prioritize, and here's how you dominate them.
Okay. So just give us a little peek under the hood. You're an entrepreneur, you're starting a new company. You're like, I'm going to go dominate. I got the energy. I've got the expertise. I've got the passion. Where do you start besides hiring you?
Well, you've got to
start. I'm sitting here thinking, I'm going to call you after this and have a conversation with you. Yes.
So I think it's really defining what do you want out of the business, right? So that's starting with your end game, right? And then the niche. I really believe think about this, Lisa. When you get niche, right, everything becomes easier and you become better at everything you do. And the market, even though you may feel it's smaller, it's really bigger. Right. And I think it's honing in on that and then having self-reflection, right? This is what I would tell those entrepreneurs. You want to start a business? What are you starting? What is the value proposition? Do people want it? How are you going to differentiate? How are you going to be niche? And do you have the ability to be the market leader? And are you committed to do those things? And if you're not, don't go into business because you're going to lose.
Right, right. And then, so what are the big landmines that you see entrepreneurs step into?
Yeah, I think that they try to take on too many things in the sense of you may start with the good intentions of being niche. And I can give you an example of one of my businesses. So for web design and development, you go win a project, right? You're all happy. That's your niche. But then all of a sudden the client says, well, hey, do you do a logo? Well, it's money. Yeah, I do a logo. Well, hey, do you also do a print ad? Yeah. Well, what happens is it distracts you and you have to go hire other resources and other staff and new overhead. And then all of a sudden you're the cobbler with no shoes and you're the master of nothing.
Good
right?
Point. And so basically when they say, do you do a website? Yep, I do a website. Do you do a logo? No, I don't. Here's someone's business card.
Amen.
Okay.
Yeah, and you align yourself with people that own the logo space or whatever space it is, right? Stay in your lane. What I would tell entrepreneurs is stay in your lane, master your craft, and scale with speed.
Right. Okay. And then so scaling with speed. So help me through that a little bit. Does that mean, you've mastered your lane, you know who you are, you know what you're going to do, and it's just balls to the wall. It's just, you just go, go, go. I mean,
it's organized chaos, right? So I operate
my whole life.
I operate everything off of, and it's part of the book. I call it an attack and conquer plan. This isn't a vision sheet. This isn't a goal sheet. It's a one-page pseudo-strategic plan that aligns your culture, your goals, your priorities, your owners, your accountabilities, down to the level of rolling it up yearly, to quarterly, to monthly, to daily, and then creating a rhythm and a measurement system to ensure that you're hitting those milestones, right? So that framework then allows everything clarity in your organization and the ability to quickly operate with speed. So I can give you an example. One of the last organizations I sold, we operated off this plan. At 8:49 every Monday, I had my entire executive team stand around a table, and in 10 minutes, we talked about things we could decide now and things that we needed to work with offline. Then they would go meet and have meetings with their team on the priorities. And so by 9:20, 9:30 in my organization on Monday, everybody was clear about what here's so important though, is the continuity is rhythm and alignment, right? So if you I don't care if you have 20 people or 1,000 people, if they're all rowing and they're rowing in the right direction and they're aligned, you're going to have forward progress. Most companies forget those fundamentals. Most companies don't get aligned. I walk into companies all the time, and if I go grab 15 people and I say, what do you guys do here? I get 15 different answers.
Right.
What's your priority this month? I don't know. That's what I help fix.
Yeah, that's absolutely amazing. So you had said you were at TCU. I mean, is this what you went to school to do? How did you become a subject matter expert? Because you are. I mean, I can tell by talking to you.
Oh, thank you. It's grit, right? I literally went to TCU to play football, and I realized the NFL wasn't my future. So I quickly pivoted that. There was a degree called kind of like e-commerce, e-business. So core competencies in marketing, finance, and computer science. But that didn't arm me for this. What armed me for this was in the trenches, living experience.
Yeah.
A ton. I've probably read or listened to over 100 different books. Success leaves clues, right? Surround yourself in success. Shut up and listen. Be a sponge. It leaves clues.
I love that. Success leaves clues. That's a good one.
My last business partner was, a decade or so my senior, and he was a great mentor for me. And I really absorbed that. But, I would tell people, go get a mentor, success leaves clues. And if you can't afford a coach, buy a book, get audio. You're investing, $10 a day in Starbucks, you can get a book.
Well, and one of the ways I know that you met To Market Media is you were backstage with Grant at 10X. So you were obviously investing in yourself at that point to be backstage with, Grant Cardone.
Yeah, totally. I'm a firm believer you have to invest in yourself, no matter at what level, right? And as you and I know, people that have reached massive success, there's no end game, right? There's no ceiling. You want to keep going. There's always something better, bigger and better, and you want to give more. So, it's important to continue to learn. I think it's critical in self-development. Yeah,
no, it absolutely is. And, and I love what you say about that. So, how can people work with you? How can, do you have a course coming out? Are you doing webinars? How can people connect with you?
Yeah, great. So at judgegraham.com. So Graham like the cracker, Graham, and then judge like the judge. And my website, follow me on social. I've got a bunch of cool videos. I've got a pretty cool podcast. And, if you're really serious, you can reach out to me. I can do coaching, or I can evaluate if it's a good fit from a client perspective. But, to your point, I'm going to have content courses coming out in the next 4 or 5 months that I'll have online that really walk through some of these methodologies.
Yeah, I think it's critical because, I think, when I was in college, we didn't even have computers.
Right.
So one of my favorite stories, I was speaking yesterday and in Chicago, and
you're not that old, by the way, either.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate that. Anyways, it's called good lighting. But I was telling the story about how about 10 years ago when I was learning how to use Excel for the first time, because we didn't have computers in college, let alone, Excel. And so I had my daughter doing it. And I said, well, I'm sure glad I paid for your college education. She's like, Mom, I learned this in junior high school. I'm like, stop. I'm like, okay, great. So it's just so different, when you've got different levels. But, one of the things I was going to interject earlier is, Elon Musk says that at Tesla, he doesn't even look for people with college degrees. He looks for people with life experience.
Totally.
That really does play off of what you said. We can I went to college for fashion, and it sounds like you went to college for something else, but it gets down to, at the end of the day, is that we have a PhD when it comes to experience, and a PhD in success, and a PhD in failure. And
totally.
So I think that that's critical. So I love what you said about finding a mentor. And one of my dear friends, and she's also with To Market Media, Melinda Garvey, she's got On the Dot Woman. And she launched, it's 4 minutes a day, subscription-based, of relatable role models, for women to listen to. And I think that's
awesome.
So, when people are out looking for a mentor, people ask me all the time, and I'm like, oh, I'm so busy. I cannot commit to one Wednesday every other week. I can't. It's impossible. But that doesn't mean that, you can't talk to me one time a year and somebody else one time a year, right? And so I think that you really need to build a tribe of mentors.
Totally. I love that word, tribe.
Yes, because people who are at our level can't make those kind of commitments. But I'm always happy to take a phone call if I can, right, if I can fit it in, if I can help. I mean, I want to be that person. But, on a weekly, monthly, on a calendar, impossible. So, how do you see that? Are you mentoring people right now? Yeah. I'm not asking you to put that out on this show, but I'm just, tell me how you define a mentor.
Yeah, a mentor to me is in all forms, right? I think a mentor is motivational and aspirational, listening to just content, right? Which could be a book, or, the most cost-effective way is a book or audio. Like, I'm more of an audio person.
I am too.
I love listening to the audibles, right?
I do too.
I think the second stage of that is, purchasing a course, right? Like courses like you and I are developing, yes, or have developed.
Yes.
And then the third stage of that is ongoing personal investment in conferences like 10X or other conferences similar to that. Right. And then that next level is, if you're really serious, which I think people should be, you invest in real coaches, right? And,
I've always had an executive coach. I've hired 2 or 3 of them in my career. And, and I always, I want to say about executive coaches, a lot of people have got a lot of razzle dazzle and they can go sell, but make sure the person you're sitting in front of is more successful than you are now. And they're still more successful than you're going to be 12 months from now. Because the worst thing you can do is outgrow a coach. And that happened to me one time. My other 2 coaches were absolute flipping rock stars. And, to tears, they'd make me cry. They were so rough on me. But that's okay.
That's what you need, though. I mean, I agree. I mean, yeah, I guess I'm looking to coach people that are coachable and want to grow, right? Because I'm not going to be, just like you said, I think a real coach, whether it's sports or business, whatever it is, it's the truth. And people need that wake-up call. A lot of people claim they want to be in business or they claim they want to be an entrepreneur, but they don't want to really put in the work. I mean, when you really have to figure out what it takes, right, there's a big difference, right? And so, that's the first criteria I talk about is like, have you burned the ship? And then we'll start talking about it, and they haven't burned it. Right. And so if you're going to work with me, that ship's got to be burned, baby.
I love it. I knew that when they told me you and I would get along, that we were similarly aligned. Now I understand why. Absolutely. You've got to do the work. You've got to be consistent. Totally. Consistency wins, so many times, especially in the automotive space. Grant is such a celebrity, and I've known him for years. I actually knew him before he was a celebrity. He actually walked into my dealership, flew in on Delta, not on the G5.
Yeah.
And trying to sell me training. I guess this was back 2010. It was 2010. And, so I kind of tease him about it, but, I'll tell you what I give that guy is it is the consistency.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
He does not give up. And, and you see people out there and, and they want to criticize. And I'm like, you know what? Love him or hate him. I don't care. That guy does not quit. He is the Energizer Bunny. He deserves the G5. He deserves the jet. I don't care if you like him or not. And funny about Audible books, when right after 10X came out, I got it, of course, and it's him reading it. So I know him. So I was on the trail and I'm listening to it. I got off the trail. I texted him like, Grant, you're so in my head right now, because it's so funny with Audible books when you know the author, and you and I know a lot of authors, and so kind of famous ones. And so when I'm always like, okay, this is my friend chatting in my ear, but it just it's so real to me. It really brings it to life listening to it on Audible.
Yeah, and I think the other thing too is I'm a firm believer that if you live in gray, you lose. Things have to be black or white.
Amen. Right? I love you or I hate you. There is no middle of the road. People are watching the show. Like, if I hate you, I don't speak to you anymore. That's it. It's over. We're never going to be friends again. If I love you, I will die for you.
Yeah.
Luckily, there are more people that live in that category in my world, because the other ones get banished and blocked and just kicked out of my universe. But
yeah, and I think that's the same in business too, right? If you're running a business where you're not clear on what your expectation is, what success is, and what the repercussion is if you don't perform, you lose.
Right.
And so many businesses want to operate in the gray. That's why they can't scale.
Right. Oh, I love it. I cannot wait for this book of yours to come out. Do you do any webinars for people right now, kind of building up the excitement to your book and anything like that? Because I would love to be able to share that with people.
Yeah, I'd love that. I think sharing judgegraham.com, my social, my Instagram is where I spend most of my time. So I try to do 3 videos a week, and they're just quick 60-second kind of inspirational videos. I do them on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And then I usually drop a podcast on Thursday or Friday, just from a consistency, from a content perspective. But that's all on Instagram or judgegraham.com on my podcast. And, I'm really on this movement. I love this. The 3 Ps: positivity, productivity, and profitability. It's so easy to be happy and to be nice. It takes the same amount of energy, right? Positivity won't get you there, right? But it helps. But then if you put productivity, that execution, that drive.
Yeah, you got to do the work. You got to
do the work.
It makes me crazy. People tell me, okay, Lisa, I'll do this, this, and this, and you'll have it today. And then tomorrow comes, and I have to ask for it. And then tomorrow, it's just like, no, like execute, right? Just, yeah.
You got to have the production, and then you got to have the framework to be
profitable. But both of us are drivers, right? And so it's hard when you're high Ds and you're drivers, when you have people around you that are not drivers.
Totally.
It's super hard. I mean, I've learned that over the years. So
yeah, 100%.
I've really struggled with it on managing people.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting, but it's like any sports team, right? You've got to get the right players in the right position and execute the play, because there's all different types of players, and, certain have certain skills and certain don't. And that's, one thing, my success isn't just about me. It's about my teams.
Right.
I've surrounded myself with great, smart people that understood the role that they would play versus I would play. And then you just execute, right? But I think people forget about team, and that becomes a problem if you want a massive business. If you want a smaller business, you don't need a team. You want a freaking giant business, you need a team.
You got to have a team. And, and I love what you said about coaching, because there is not an NFL player that, number one, gets to the NFL, and there's certainly nobody that ever gets to the Super Bowl without a coach.
Yeah.
Right. And so coaches are absolutely instrumental to success. But, you better be ready to write a check and invest. And I remember the first coach I hired was 10 years ago. Well, it was probably longer. It was probably 12 years ago. It was $18,000. And I'll never forget. And I went to my husband and I'm like, what do you think? And he's like, you can't afford not to do it.
Yeah, I love that. Great husband.
Yeah. He's like, and it was a speaking coach, and it was somebody that, would teach me how to go out and build the speaking business, and then help me write and all of that. And I'm forever grateful. Of course, I've, badoopled that money back. And, but that being said, I don't think I'd be where I am today if I wouldn't have had that coach, that person who would be honest with me. It's real easy to kind of think you're cool, or you got a million friends on Facebook, so you think whatever, but a coach or an agent, they're brutal. I mean, know.
Yeah, no, totally.
They are brutal. I'm like, hey, I thought, what do you know? They're like, oh, don't even think you're that cool. You did this wrong. You should have done this. You didn't execute. And I'm like, okay, I guess I'm back to the drawing board. But
you need
iron sharpens iron.
Amen.
And I thought that yesterday when I had hundreds and hundreds of people in my audience, and just, it was just high energy and this, that, and the other. And I thought, you know what? And it was a crazy deal. But anyways, but that being said, I kept thinking back to what one of my executive coaches had told me one time. And I was really able to drill in this one point. And this man walked up to me afterwards. He's like, okay, what you said changed my life. He's like, I think it might've pissed off about a third of the room. He said, but you're right on, you're spot on. And that's, basically what we do in business or
that's
life.
What matters. Yeah.
You can't stand in the middle. You've got to take a stance as a leader.
No gray.
And that's what I told this room. Leaders do not stand in the middle. Right. Leaders lead the line,
totally.
And the ones at the back are the ones that can't decide. Then, that's okay to be a follower, because not everyone's born to be a leader.
Yeah.
Right. And so, yeah. So anyways, I love what you said, but basically picking your lane, taking a stand, consistency, never giving up, being a driver, all the above.
Yeah, that's it. And it's the fundamentals, and I did a video that I'm publishing tomorrow, and it's about that. It's like whatever you want in life, it's there, but the magic happens in the work. Right. So if you want to, and this, I talked about it, if you want love, health, or wealth, the only thing that those three reward is the work.
Oh, I love that. That's it. Well, before we get going, tell us about your family. I know you're married. You got a couple kids?
Yeah, amazing wife, Jordan. We've been married for over 10 years, and I've got two boys, Jake and Jet, who are almost 9 and 7.
Oh, how fun. So your life is busy.
Oh, yeah, for sure. All
right. So tell us where Judge is going to be 10 years from now. And if you tell me standing on stage next to Grant Cardone, I'm going to throw up. And Grant, if you're watching this, I love you, but.
Right. Yeah. I want to be doing this. I mean, I'm loving this. I want to help entrepreneurs, individuals, and businesses scale with speed. I mean, I truly love what I do, and that's a reward in itself. I mean, the monetary comes with that, which is fantastic. But, I love being in the action, right? I love seeing something and saying, look at the opportunity. And if we just implement these fundamentals, what can happen? That gives me my juice. Right. So that's what I want to do.
No, I love it. Well, I know for a fact, I'm going to predict it today on this date, that your book is going to be a best-selling book, because it's what people need. They need to hear this. They need to, but not hear it. I love that you said it's really a practical application. It's like, it is going to, not give you theory. It's going to give you practical steps to be able to take your business and scale it fast.
Amen.
Profitably. Right?
Amen.
And then you're also going to lay out, what are the pitfalls so that people can avoid those up front.
Totally.
I think that right there is worth the cost of a case of books, maybe 2 cases of books.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, that's what I want to do. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. Thanks.
Well, thank you so much for taking time today and pouring into my audience. And
thank you for having me. This was fun.
Yes, judgegraham.com, rock star, coach, and to entrepreneurs, absolute technology expert. And if you want to grow and scale your business fast, I suggest you follow this gentleman. All right, everybody, as usual, have a great day, and I'll see you next time.
All right.
Just jump off. And